My name is Paul Donnelly. I'm the Regeneration Director with Antrim GAA. I'm responsible for the implementation of the Gael Fast initiative. And what is it? Well, it's an approach that we're taking within Belfast to try and reinvigorate, re-energise levels of involvement in Gaelic games within the city. A bit about myself before I go into more detail about Gael Fast. I've been involved in sports development for around 20 years, responsible for sort of policy, strategy, research with a view to informing best practice in mainly three areas: sport, physical activity, and in health. But that's not all that I'm about. Certainly during that time, and well before that, certainly from 7 years of age, I've been an active member of the GAA as a player, a coach, and a volunteer. And in the last 15 years, I've been an active committee member within my own club, St Paul's GAC in Belfast, which some of you may remember more recently organised the Ulster Minor Football Tournament on the Swords Road in Belfast, involving around 4,000 spectators, players and officials. A great event. I was secretary for 6 years and also chairman for 1 year, and obviously getting this post and ensuring that there's no conflict of interest, I decided to step down. What I wanted to do is to give you a sense of where I'm at. Yes, I'm a researcher, I'm a published author, and that route has given me a view of the work that I have to do. And the view is an evidence-based approach to two things: planning and decision-making in a Gael Fast and Antrim GAA context. So bear that in mind as we go through the presentation. 6 things I want to cover tonight in around 10 or 12 minutes. So it's a whistle-stop tour of what I want to cover. But before doing that, I think it's important to put this new initiative into a wider historical context. This year marks the 50th year of the civil rights movement in the north of Ireland. And following that, there was 40 years of conflict that certainly can't be ignored. Thousands and thousands of people in the north of Ireland, and specifically within Belfast, were killed, injured throughout that period of time. And I suppose, why do I mention it? It's important to reflect that during that 40 years of conflict, clubs were about surviving. Foremost, about surviving. What I'm looking for in relation to the Gael Fast initiative is to use this as an opportunity to both strive and thrive, just like any other city on the island of Ireland. So it's a real opportunity for us to take this project forward. Background-wise, it's important to reflect upon this. I mean, Belfast is the second city on the island of Ireland. Just under 600,000 people live there and work there. There was an attempt in 2007 and 2008 through the GAA, Ulster Council and many other stakeholders to try and identify the needs and priorities of Belfast at that point in time. But there wasn't the energy and there wasn't the level of investment required to make any significant difference at that point in time. So to a greater or less extent, the strategy, which was nice and glossy and produced, sat on a shelf for a period of time. Almost 10 years later, through Pádraig Duffy, there was a meeting that was held in Belfast. I understand a very heated meeting. And it was really throwing out a challenge to Belfast, Antrim GAA officials, to come up with a proposal to determine where you want to be in the next 5, 10, 15 years in terms of Gaelic games. That was the challenge. And there was a working group that was formed and was led by a Belfast man, a British man, a guy called Pat O'Hagan. And he pulled together key individuals from within the world of business, education, and other sectors to try and produce a plan that would stack up, that would mean something to the people of Belfast, to the county as a whole, to the province, and obviously to the association. And they did that. And thankfully, there was a presentation that was made to the National Games Development Committee, and that proposal was approved. The very last point is also so important. So when I accepted the post, which would be in June 2018, the people I met, men, women, the length and breadth of Antrim, Ulster and beyond, felt that this was an opportunity. It was an all-county sort of opportunity, and not to see this as a project which was primarily Belfast-centric. So it was a challenge that was thrown to me in my thinking, both on and off the pitch, again, as a coach. So bear that in mind as we go through the rest of the presentation. There is a context within the north of Ireland, and the context needs to be reflective of where we are now. So in the centre bit of the pyramid is the Gael Fast plan. It's a proposal that was signed off. In and around that, was the national, provincial and county strategy. And in all of those strategies, there was a reference to the need to address urban issues in relation to Gaelic games. There's also a context in relation to government, or the lack of government that currently exists within the north of Ireland, but there is a programme for government that many government departments are adhering to. And that programme for government has around 14 outcomes. And believe it or not, many of the aims, goals and priorities identified within the GAALfast plan are very much aligned to those priorities within programme for government. The same is true of the Belfast agenda. So in the north of Ireland, there are 11 district councils. All 11 district councils by April 2015 had to produce a community plan. They had to get all the relevant partners around the table to agree what are the things that need to change in that particular district council area. And certainly within the Belfast agenda, the area that I'm responsible for, there are many, again, goals and priorities relating to, that relate specifically to what we want to do within the GAALfast plan. So there's a context. And the last is probably the most important point. The model that was used to inform the planning for programme for government and also that of the Belfast agenda is an outcomes-based accountability planning model. It's a model that we have to get our heads around, certainly in Belfast and certainly in Antrim and certainly beyond, because it's a language that we need to become familiar with. And the basis of OBA is essentially asking 3 questions of any project or intervention. 3 very simple questions. How much do we do? How well do we do it? And is anyone any better off as a result of what we did? 3 simple questions. And sometimes when you look at interventions and the work that we do, very, very difficult to actually answer those. Challenge. There are many challenges that have been thrown to me in the 58 days I've been in post, and certainly before that. On the slides, very, very busy slide. I don't want you to read all of it. What I want you to do is to consider that there are any number of challenges thrown out, again, on and off the pitch, and I put them into 4 quadrants: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats from my perspective. And what I want to do tonight was to highlight those 6 I think are particularly relevant to GAALfast and obviously where we want to be. Let's start with the blue, the strengths. Very important to start with the strengths. Belfast City Council, the GAA and others have invested in around £15 million in 6 3G facilities and ancillary facilities. These are facilities that can be programmed for GAA activity. Up until now, they've been planned, the planning and around them has been pretty ad hoc. What I want to do is put in place arrangements whereby those facilities are packed with GAA activity across all codes. Again, moving to the bottom, there will be an opportunity to leverage additional monies through central and local government. EU, believe it or not, EU Plus, Peace Plus will be available to ourselves and others in the future. And again, there will be ALBs, such as the organisation I used to work for, who will have opportunities to invest in what we're trying to do. Casement. I am a big supporter of casement. The project, GAALfast and casement need to go hand in hand. Antrim needs a brand, it needs a home, and Ulster needs a provincial stadium. It needs it. Looking to the weaknesses, and there are a number of weaknesses which have been identified to me. Coaching capacity, again, as a coach who has worked with in a club and also with a county and within a school context, there is a capacity issue within clubs and schools that needs to be addressed. We also understand there's a poor evidence base to support effective planning and decision making within our county, and that's something again needs to be improved. And the last one I'll finish on. This is not an overnight fix. 5 years is an initial investment, and anyone who understands what needs to be done to achieve outcomes, they're 15 to 20 years in the making. So programme for government, albeit it's a 5-year duration, the outcomes that have been set are in the context of 10 to 15 to 20 years, and the same is true of community plans such as the Belfast Agenda. We need to get familiar with the language, we need to get familiar with the approach that needs to be taken to plan better for Gaelic games in Antrim and certainly within Belfast, and that's something I'd like to do. Progress in 58 days, I've rounded up to 60 for the sake of anything else. There's been significant progress in the last couple of months. Some there on the slide. The one I would like to highlight to you, the one I think is of particular importance to the people in this room, is the 5-star centre. So I came in to look at the 5-star centre resource with a blank sheet. And within an hour of a discussion with friends within St Mary's University College, Professor Peter Finn, Paddy Talley, who I know most of you will know, and a guy called Gavin McGilly, we came up with a way, a means of being able to deliver an effective 5-star centre programme come 2019, January through to June. So let me tell you a bit about it. So The project will be delivered in partnership with St Mary's University College Belfast. We have identified a brand partner in the form of O'Neill's, a guy called Stephen Thompson. Again, within 20 minutes of a discussion with him, was on board. We're looking at 16 schools in Belfast, South West and North Antrim. We're looking at 32 trainee teachers, so third and fourth year teachers who are keen as mustard to get us some experience, keen as mustard to get themselves a job in the next number of years, to sign up to be trained in the resource. Those teachers will be deployed to cover the 16 schools under supervision in Belfast and in Antrim. And then we're going to have 32 primary school teachers who may not currently have the confidence or capacity to lead on the resource within the school environment to be trained up at St Mary's University College by Paddy, by Gael and our own GPOs within Antrim. We anticipate around 1,600 young pupils within those schools to benefit from activities in around the 5-star centre. And then what's the role of a GPO? I want to change the way in which we actually engage with schools. It isn't spoon feeding, it's about trying to support what's happening in the school environment. So we're looking at ongoing support and guidance and a measure of quality assurance in terms of what's happening within a school environment. And you'll know from the first two slides that I can't do anything without building in a research and evaluation framework. So how do we know it's working? How do we know if it can be improved? So I'm building in a research and evaluation framework to test that from start through to the end. So when it comes to June 2019, when we have the current schools involved in the pilot and all schools within Belfast and parts of Antrim invited to the event, we're going to describe what worked well, what didn't work so well, and invite all schools to sign up to the 5-star centre. It's going to happen. Here are the 34 trainee teachers. Again, I was at the college yesterday and got a quick photograph of them. All those teachers are already assigned to the 16 schools. We've matched them up, we've budgeted them up, and they're ready to go. Priorities for action. I don't want to spend too much time on this because I don't want to go over time. But there are a number of priorities for action in the next 6 months, just like any project. The one I want to highlight, and the one that I think is so important, is around establishing a strong evidence base. So there hasn't been a robust piece of research undertaken in Belfast or Antrim ever. I came out of a meeting this morning with Belfast City Council, and again, within an hour and a half of that meeting, a commitment of £20,000 towards the completion of a baseline research project between February and June of this year. So that, alongside meaningful consultation with those who are important, clubs, schools, primary, post-primary, and a range of other key stakeholders, we should be in a position to identify what we believe to be the vision and the outcomes we want to achieve over the next 10 to 15 years within Belfast and within Antrim. This last slide is a slide I used at the county convention on the 13th of December. 160 delegates in the room, many of which who are good friends of mine. I've known them for 20, 30 years, being involved in the GAA as a volunteer. And I think the big challenge for us and for many in this room is the C word, and it isn't what you think. The C word, I think, are two options. One is people in this audience and people across the environment who are involved in our games can be complacent. They can think, sure, Antrim has the money. The £1 million is referred to at the beginning by Damien. Let them get on with it. Let's see what happens. All the best to them. Or we see this as an opportunity to try and raise levels of involvement and engagement in Gaelic games in Belfast and Antrim, and for everyone in the room to get behind it. So the other C option for you and for others, and certainly within Belfast and Antrim, is to use as a catalyst for a revival of Gaelic games in Belfast. Antrim needs to happen, also needs to happen, and the GAA needs to happen. But don't just listen to me. I wouldn't mind you just to listen to fellow Gaels from the city I live and work is Belfast. So if we don't mind maybe playing this 2 or 3 minutes.
We've seen what's happened elsewhere. We've looked on with envy, and we know it can happen here in Belfast with GAALfast.
The GAA means everything to me. I've played since I was 5 years old.
I started playing for fun, and after a few years I started travelling the world.
I've been playing since I was 4 years of age, and it's never too late to try.
Football, hurling, camogie, ladies football, handball and rounders. Pel Gaelach, Amaniacht, Camogieacht, Leerhoid Lawa.
GAALfast is a new and exciting initiative.
Curry GAALfast snas agus blas ar na cluiche Gaelatha, Imol Farstja, agus a Gundy Intrum.
I know all clubs in Belfast and Antrim are fully behind Gaelfast and all it proposes to do.
We love Gaelic games because it's fun. It brings friends together, it brings families and communities together.
The passion between the lads and your team and the coaches are all very welcoming. It's just a great big family to be a part of.
It involves more people, it builds better communities.
It lifts spirits, it makes you feel good, and it gives you energy.
It's a great way to get fit and you get great enjoyment out of it as well. So it really works well together.
At a community level, the GAA has a massive impact upon health and well-being, and now with the Gaelfast initiative, we're really excited about that going to another level entirely.
I don't know where I would be without it.
My aspirations were to always play for my county.
To finally get over the line with a good victory is something really to be proud of.
Playing handball has given me a great sense of pride, playing for my city, my county and my country.
There's also the cultural aspect as well, and it takes so many more extra things on board, so there's so many hidden values to it.
As a coach, I've seen how being part of a GAA club can change a young person's life.
When you're out there, it's a great way to clear your head, especially when you're running.
Antrim is Ferran a Winewood.
Antrim has always made history.
Here in Antrim, we are so used to looking back to the glory days, the 1969 to 1989. Now, for the first time in a long time, we can look forward with hope and optimism.
Gaelfast will be transformational for everyone involved in Gaelic games in Belfast and in County Antrim.
We've been crying out for it here in Ireland's second city, and we're just so excited.
You could be the next big thing.
Regardless of whether you're 5 or 65, you can be part of the Gaelfast team.
Antrim is a sleeping giant.
This is your time.
I'm part of the Gaelfast team. You can be too.
The only way to be successful is together. La Hela.
Job done. Gaelfast the boo.
Lakela.
Gaelfast!
So, Graham Agate, thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of the conference.